Hello everybody, Chris Dinnell here with Remax West Coast and the Dinnell Real Estate Group, Richmond's community realtors, and here we are on another episode of Amazing Richmondites. And today we have Rishell O'Brien. She's actually the owner of Defy Gravity Dance Studio, is that correct? And you are a second generation Richmondite.
I am.
And you went to, let's see here, Kilgore,
Yep.
Arrington.
Yep.
The incentive school.
Yep.
McNair graduated.
Yeah.
And then off to UBC.
Yeah.
And you actually started teaching dance when you're going to UBC to help pay for the way to get through college. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, I did.
And here you are now as the owner of Defy Gravity. So welcome to this episode. Thank you so much for participating. And tell us a little bit something interesting about yourself that nobody knows out there in Richmond.
Oh, a few people know this, but most people do not. I am an introvert.
You're an introvert.
I know.
I would not expect that.
I know. See, we've known each other well.
Yes.
You didn't know that. I have a very public job, and I grew up in a huge family. My dad has 21 siblings and step-siblings.
Wow.
And we always had family around, and there was always lots of commotion and energy. And, you know, I grew up dancing, and I teach dance in a very loud, outgoing environment. So, you know, I'm an introvert, but I probably don't seem like it.
Well, you don't seem like it today, because here you are in front of a camera and to millions of viewers worldwide. So Rishell, tell us a little bit about how you're helping our community, and I know you've been on a ton of boards, but it's just not that. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing and helping out our amazing community of Richmond here.
Yeah, so Richmond is close to my heart, and it's been really important for me to get involved in the community. So I've been on all sorts of different boards, like Richmond Arts Coalition. I was one of the founding members. All steering committees for the arts in Richmond, Gateway Theatre Endowment Committee, you know, just things giving back to the arts in Richmond, but also I've been helping through Richmond City Baseball for my son, because he loves to play baseball. And then really just my work, to me, is a very big part of giving back to our community. We work with kids and are building the next generation of leaders, and to me it's really important to have those kids know that they can do whatever they want. Like no is not an answer to a question. They can go beyond whatever they have been told they can do. And I actually just had an interesting conversation with 5 and 6-year-olds yesterday in a dance class, where I was explaining my role at the studio, that not only am I their dance teacher, but I'm also like the principal of their school. I'm the principal of the dance school. And this little spunky little girl says to me, "No, you're not." And I said, "I am." And she says, "Ladies can't be bosses."
Wow.
And it was such an interesting conversation with 5 and 6-year-olds, and it happened to be all girls in the room, but you know, oftentimes it's a mix. And we had this very interesting conversation about how girls can do anything, and we listed off all these different things. So to me, giving back to my community means helping all these little kids from, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 years old right up until their teen years, grow to be the leaders of tomorrow, like be the next generation of strong advocates for our community, strong advocates for the environment, and just really step up and be the next generation of leaders.
I love it. So what motivates you to do what you do? You know, I know you want to give back and for the next generation, but what really gets inside of you to motivate you to do what you do?
That's a good question. It's kind of personal. When I was a kid, I was, I think 11 years old. I showed up to registration day with my mom at the dance studio. And on the spot, my dance teacher said, "Are you sure you want to keep dancing? You should just quit. You're never going to be a professional."
Wow.
Yeah, and I was so shocked by that. And it, you know, my parents were fantastic. They've always, you know, taught me to be strong and to go for what I want, right? And so I stood there for a moment, and I remember very clearly my mom looked at me and said, "Do you still want to dance here?" And in my head, I was like, "Oh, I'll show her. I'm going to be a great dancer."
Yeah, I like that.
Right? And I had that drive even as a young kid. And so, you know, it was a rough road of ups and downs and things. And I really had to prove myself to my dance teacher and show her that I was worthy of being, you know, in that little professional division and train hard.
Yeah.
And it made me stronger as a human, but it also made me really see that we don't need to talk to kids like that. Like
no.
It's so much more important to give them a really safe space. And I think that's what really drives me is I realized just recently that the studio is what I needed as a kid. I built what I needed as a kid. And so now I get to give that to other kids. And so, you know, just really training my staff to respect kids and to treat them with love and kindness and make a safe space. Like, that's what drives me.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And, you know, I've had similar bouts in my growing up and, you know, teachers telling me I couldn't do what I wanted to do in the future. And that motivated me to do what I do. So I totally understand that. That's great. I love it. So Rishell, how has Defy Gravity had to expand during COVID, or you even personally had to expand during COVID? Because I know a lot of us have done things virtually now and this and that. And a lot of people have had to pivot their businesses. I'm sure you guys have had to. And what was the big change for you, and how has it become even better for you guys?
Well, COVID affected me in that I had to make a whole bunch of changes and really innovate in order to keep my business in a successful spot. And so for me, I think it really pushed me to think outside of the box and think bigger and think bolder. Like, I had to be really brave and really step up. And at the time COVID hit, I was actually on contract for a company where I was a business coach. And I was supporting 50 other performing arts studio directors in their sort of entrance and initiation into our current pandemic. And it really stretched me to look outside of what I would normally do and get off of autopilot and try new things and think bigger and think braver. And then in terms of the studio, you know, we had to do things completely differently. It was right before spring break that I sort of said to the families of the studio, so we might go virtual after this, and they all laughed and they didn't believe me. And I said, but I knew, because I was seeing what was happening in other countries, because I was, you know, leading and coaching those other studio directors, and I could see it coming. And luckily, with a group of mastermind entrepreneurs that I worked together with, we came up with some really great ideas. And so what that meant was I had an online academy set up for March 31st, and we had—
Wow, that was quick.
We were quick. We were really quick. We took our 2 weeks of spring break, and we were back. Like, that was it. There was no messing around, because we knew that those kids needed that connection, and we knew that if they weren't going to go to school, they weren't going to have anything to do. And I think that was at the time where we were all just home. Like, we were just home. That was it. And, you know, kids needed something to do. So we had our online lessons, which we ran at their regular time, so nobody had to change their life schedule. We had our teachers, and we also had teenage assistants helping. So we were actually teaching a real virtual, like, dance class constantly, like, on our regular schedule. So we gave feedback. We had them perform for us one by one. We did little recordings. And then on top of that, we set up extra fun things. So, like, during the day when I knew the kids weren't at school, I did tea time with Miss Rishell. And like story time with Miss Rishell. And I would get out my grandma's old china and set up the table, you know, all cute with little plaid tablecloth. Bring
you back as a little girl having tea time?
Yeah.
I love it.
At the time, like, I also had my nieces that I was homeschooling. I took them into homeschool while I was doing all this.
So you were busy.
I was busy.
Yeah.
But they loved it. And I was like, okay, if they love it, then, you know, this is what kids need. So we did things like that. For the teenagers, we did check-ins. Like, we would just literally get them sit on a Zoom call, and they would just talk to me, like, just as a human. And I was just their person that they could tell me how frustrated and sad they were.
Yeah.
And then we did fun things like virtual escape rooms and stuff. Like, we just thought big, and we went different, and we kept that community, because I think the community of the dance studio is what's so important. And then we kind of jumped into, you know, just this idea that we were not going to go down in COVID. So we were the first and only studio, to my knowledge, in BC, and actually I think maybe across Canada, that had in-person dance recitals both years. So in 2020 and 2021.
Well, it really shows the innovation from you and your team there to jump on it so quickly like that. And by March 31st, that is like a couple, because I think we shut down around the 15th of March, right?
Yep.
So a few weeks for you to do it that quickly is amazing. And I like what you said about keeping that community, because what I found talking with other business owners here in Richmond, the ones that did keep that community amongst their community, they excelled, and they're doing better than ever right now. And I'm sure you guys are doing great and continuing on. And it's, you know, we had to pivot. I think if we look at this as a learning curve, this, instead of getting in a negative mind frame and using that positive mind frame, like obviously you have, you know, you flourish from it. So congratulations on that. That's great.
Thanks. I think we have to lead. We have to lead And
we do, yeah.
And know that we have to live our values, right? Like you can't just say, I'm raising the next generation of leaders and then not step up as
Yep, absolutely.
That's an important thing to do.
Well, you definitely led by example.
Thanks.
So, Rishell, last question. What does it mean to you to be a Richmondite?
Yeah, well, given that I have lived here my whole life, and I just love this community, I think what it means to me is to live in community. And to me that means knowing your neighbors and talking to the people at the grocery store and supporting local and stepping up to help within your community. You know, like be involved in your kids' sports.
Yeah.
Know your kids' friends. You know, reach out and help someone that's in need. I know we've got lots of great Richmond groups like Mamas for Mamas and all sorts of things where we can just step up and be in community with each other. And to me, that's what Richmond means.
Well, that's an absolutely amazing answer, Rishell, and I think you're totally right because it's been absolutely amazing all the community groups that have come out during, you know, over the past few years, but even before that, like you said, Mamas for Mamas, there's all these other Richmond groups that are giving back to people in need and coming together as a community. It's absolutely, I love it, and that's why, you know, we do what we do as leaders in our community and help continue that positive mind frame and keep everybody continuing to be leaders. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and congratulations on your success. And I heard you're doing adult classes now, is that right?
We are doing adult classes now. Yeah.
So I think I might have to maybe do a class or two to get my jiggy on. I don't know. I've been known to tear up a dance floor before, so.
I will meet you there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.